get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time. And take a listen to this answer.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this.
Fans aren't whispering anymore. They're saying it out loud. The flannel is fraying, the facts are fuzzy, and the brand can't survive a close-up. Yes, you clicked on the Tyrus and Megyn Kelly takedown of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and you're in the right place. Tonight's story is simple. A governor who sold himself as the steady coach.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, whose balls is he hiding in his cheeks? That's the first question I want to know. And I don't love the way he says, fierce.
Yeah. What kind of bullshit is that? No, you don't, sir. We don't lie about military service we didn't actually perform, like going to war. We don't steal valor by saying that we had a higher rank in the National Guard.
Next door ran headfirst into two critics who don't do gentle. They pressed play on a claim about service, a question about character, and a broader pattern about leadership, and the sheen started to crack. That's the headline. The twist? This isn't just a roast. It's a stress test for ambitions that reach far past.
Yeah. A teacher snatches the bully's ass up. Yeah. Come sit with me. That's what I know. Someone's bullying. Oh, you can sit with me for a while. And then I would lean on him. I'd bully him back. He's not a teacher. He's not a politician. He's a creepy guy who can't remember his speech.
Past St. Paul. Quick proof. The now viral exchange where Walz is pressed about saying he carried weapons in war, despite not deploying to a war zone, later chalked up as misspeaking, became the match. The fuel was everything else. Pandemic calls, protest decisions, education fights, and the carefully curated everyman coach packaging. What you'll get here, the moment the image buckled, the deeper pattern behind the punchlines, and why this matters if the governor's future is bigger than the state line. Buckle in. This ride doesn't stay in one lane. Picture the first scene like a split screen. On one side, Tyrus, ex-wrestler energy, crowd-working instincts, the guy who smells weakness the way a comic smells a heckler. On the other, Megyn Kelly, trial lawyer tempo, surgical phrasing, a smile that says, I brought exhibits. The target stands in the middle, not a no-name local, but a sitting governor who's built his message on being relatable, reliable, relentlessly normal. That brand is the armor. Or it was. Because once the service line got challenged, carried weapons in war versus never deployed to a war zone, suddenly every polished talking point had to carry extra weight. A campaign can put misspoke on a press release. Critics can put pattern on the board. And when critics smell pattern, they don't let go. Hold that thought. We'll come back to the clip. First, the packaging. Expectations versus reality is the spine of American politics, and few stories show the gap more clearly. Expectation. A coach-turned-governor who cares about the little things, keeps a whistle around his neck and a rule book in his pocket, and knows how to steady a huddle when the noise gets loud. Reality, say his critics. A man who poses as the steady hand and then wobbles the moment decisions carry heat. A leader who overcorrects, underprepares, and drifts toward whatever applause line is loudest that week. That's why the roast landed. It wasn't just a gotcha on one sentence. It was the sense that the sentence was a doorway into everything else. Back to the scene. Tyrus comes in like a bouncer who's seen this movie too many times. He doesn't nibble around the edges. He bull rushes the persona, mocks the body language, swats at the teacher coach shtick like it's a Halloween costume left on past October. It's not nuanced. It's not meant to be. It's the blunt force of stop fronting, the unspoken code of masculinity that says you don't pretend to be what you're not, on the field, online, or on a stage. That's the second best point tonight, the image critique. Because image, when oversold, becomes a liability. Remember that. We'll come back, and then the scalpel. Megyn doesn't yell. She aligns the dots. You said X. The record shows Y. Your team called it misspeaking. And now you're pivoting to emotion, to family, to classroom cred, to anything that isn't the question. That rhythm, assertion, discrepancy, diversion, isn't unique to one politician, but when the camera is tight and the tape rolls, it reads as slippery. She doesn't need to say deceptive. She just lays out the contrasts and lets the audience say it for her. Pattern interrupts hit like snare drums. You said you carried weapons in war. You never deployed to a war zone. Misspoke?
Okay.
Then why the hedging? Why the haloing with "I'm proud of my service. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. I'm a dad"? The question wasn't whether you're proud. The question was what you said. The silence after that kind of point is the loudest part of the clip. Now the strongest point, the one that reaches beyond the soundbite and into the stakes. If a public figure leans on a carefully crafted identity to paper over soft spots, what happens when the moment demands substance that branding can't provide? That's the entire ballgame in governance. The criticism isn't merely that the governor misspoke. It's that the misspeaking sits alongside a style of leadership critics call reactive, inconsistent, and PR-heavy. Cue the reels. Pandemic orders that felt like a stop-start playlist. Businesses jerked from open to closed. Families trying to read tea leaves every morning like weather reports. Protest nights in the George Floyd aftermath where the state felt caught between whiplash and paralysis. Too slow, then too fast, then too mixed to convince anyone. School battles where the teacher governor brand promised clarity but delivered controversy and cost without the test score wins to brag about. Even if you disagree with every one of those critiques, the through line is hard to miss. When the lights were hottest, the huddle looked confused. Wait for it, because here's the twist that keeps people listening. The roast is funny because it's merciless, but it's significant because it's predictive. This isn't just about one clash of personalities. It's about a national audition. The whispers are already out there. Bigger stages, bigger roles, bigger fights. If this is the rehearsal, what happens on opening night? That's the hook Tyrus and Megyn keep pulling. If the brand can't hold under two sharp tongues and one tough clip, what happens when the entire country starts pressing the tape back 10 seconds and asking, "Run that again"? We loop back to the coach persona because that's where expectations meet outcomes. In the campaign commercial, the coach knows people. He reads the room, then the roster, then the moment. But what viewers remember is the version where the coach whistles, shouts, "Go," and half the team takes a knee while the other half sprints to the wrong end zone. That's not leadership. That's noise with a slogan. Tyrus teases this mercilessly. Dad who forgot how to set up the grill but insists he's got it, and it lands because it's a picture people understand. You can get away with that at a backyard barbecue. You can't do it at a podium with a seal on it. Let's open a loop and pay it off. The words "stolen valor" got thrown around by critics, and that phrase is a grenade. Legally, morally, emotionally, pick your minefield. The careful version is this. He's accused of embellishing. The record shows no deployment to a war zone. His team says he misspoke. Critics say that's a pattern. You don't have to be a veteran to understand why that stings. Military identity is sacred ground. If you step on it carelessly, even once, the audience stops hearing what you meant and starts judging who you are. That's why Megyn didn't move off the question. She stayed right where the tape and the word choice live and refused to take the scenic route. Now watch how the critics widen the frame. Pandemic.
Protests.
Education.
Free speech.
Each topic becomes a chapter in the same story. Promises of steadiness, outcomes of turbulence. During COVID, business owners learned a new language. Maybe, tomorrow, we're evaluating. The impression, fair or not, was that rules were changing like weather and just as predictably unpredictable. During the George Floyd crucible, Minnesota became the world's front page. People expected the voice of a metronome, slow, precise, emotionally intelligent, and decisively clear. Instead, critics say they got chords that didn't resolve, momentary force followed by visible hesitation, or the reverse. In education, the resume should have been the ace up the sleeve. A teacher's governor is supposed to command the classroom. If the data doesn't glow and the fights never end, the resume turns from shield to boomerang. Megyn's cross-examination style does something lethal in these contexts. It personifies consequences. Instead of abstractions about policy environments, you hear about parents trying to plan weeks that won't hold, shop owners opening only to be shut again, students and teachers caught in arguments that shift like sand. She reframes "I speak like regular people" as a dodge, not a virtue. Speaking plainly isn't the same as being plain-spoken. Clarity is not volume. When the answer to a clean question is muddy, the promise, "I talk like you," lands as "I talk around you." Let's quickly come back to humor, because it's part of the retention beat here. Tyrus calls out the vibe, the posture, the pretend tough of it all. He jokes about the assistant coach forever energy, the substitute teacher who wandered into the governor's office and never found the door. Juvenile?